But here we see our draft and our picks for the next map. We have as well, and what do we have here? So it will be French for Blid? No,
No,
excuse
it's
me.
English.
Oh yes, we have had
Ooh.
French already. My mistake. It is English, in fact, for Blid, which is his first pick in this draft. And do I see that right? China.
China.
For DeMu.
Oh, I love a China-English matchup. As an English player myself, if my opponent picks of China, I am a very happy camper. Now, I don't know if Blid is going to be able to find the damage he needs to punish China. And even though I believe English counters China, right?
It depends. It's not that simple, I would say,
anymore.
especially depending on the map. It really depends what Blid picks here, right? It is once again his pick. Loser does pick after every game, and the options available. See, of course, Frisian Marshes is left, as well as Holy Island, and Scandinavia as well, I believe. No?
We're still working on figuring out the pictures. It's okay.
Yes,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
That's no problem at all.
We can always point to them as well if you feel like it. We can say this one. And,
yes.
And that one.
Just there, beautifully shown, I must say.
I know, right?
But as we're talking about English against China, it's quite an interesting matchup, I must say. Of course, English has been looking strong in this patch recently. They're sort of, they've researched, let's say, after the most notable Abbey of Kings buff, getting that king for free, which would normally cost 100 gold, 100 food. Not quite that expensive.
Feels that expensive that early in the game, though.
Yeah, especially if you lose it, right?
Ooh.
I mean, yeah, they do get that for free, and having access to essentially what is a free knight, right? Feudal Age straight away can give them a lot of power here. But China, I mean, we all know China to a certain extent, right? It's just, it's almost like a mountain of a civilization. It's very difficult to scale. They have very strong defensive bonuses in Feudal Age. Village's short bows is very powerful, of course, as well. With China, long day.
It's okay. It's okay.
Barbican of the Sun.
Barbican. It's basically like a bunch of short bows as well. Very powerful, yeah.
It makes it difficult to push into, right? Even for a powerfully aggressive civilization like English, but we hear the sounds of the game, Marika.
I hear the sounds of the game, and I know that means we are almost ready to roll right in. Now, guys, China does have a very unique ability to scale better than English, and I know you guys are like, what? Something scales better than English? Yes. So let's see how DeMu chooses to play this one. Now, I don't expect to see anything apart from the king play from Mr. Blid, but we'll get into that in a second as we see DeMu again in that beautiful purple color, just scouting around, but this time on a berry civilization. So he will be able to be a little bit more greedy than usual.
In turn, Blid in red this time, as the English, on the south side of the map. Fitting color for English, of course, red. I favor that myself when I play English. But, as you mentioned, Abbey of Kings, quite a likely possibility here from Blid, but who knows? In the past, especially, we have seen Council Hall being very favored by English in this matchup, as well as a lot of others, but who knows, Marika? We might be surprised here because Cliffside, a very short map. Essentially you are a screen away from your opponent here. And as we see here, Council Hall being dropped by Blid. So this can only mean one thing, right? With 2 left on gold for Blid here, this man is looking to apply a lot of pressure very aggressively and early at that.
I am so excited about this. I am not an English king enjoyer. I believe in the longbow production building till the end of days, and I'm so glad to see Blid shares that passion of mine. So, Blid, I hope you go and you harass all those pesky resources that may be pushing DeMu to the next part of the game, but I don't think DeMu is gonna discount the fact that this is a possibility. Now, he needs to be very careful. If he goes 2 TC on China, which is a very, very common thing, he's going to be in danger. But I love this Barbican, honestly. I know it's not the most optimal Barbican in a normal matchup, but this will throw Blid off so much when he starts to rally those longbows into the base that they're going to have to run around. And again, I think that's what DeMu does the best. He overwhelms his opponents, especially Blid. Again, his first LAN tournament, the nerves, I can't even imagine, because I play like a gold player. The moment I step onto his stage. So Blid definitely is going to be thrown off the moment he sees that Barbican in his face. And I think that's the right move for DeMu, because that means that Blid is going to have to recalculate, recalibrate, and adjust his game plan.
And that's definitely a spanner in the mix here for Blade, and this is quite common on Cliffside, isn't it? This is why China and notably Rus as well are very popular picks, as well as English, of course, on this map here. Is, you know, the distance might be short, but what that also means is with a defensive landmark like the Barbican here, prioritized by DeMu, which understandably so against this aggressive opening from Blid here on the English, as well as Kremlin for Rus in another possibility. Straight away in the middle there, as you mentioned correctly, those longbows will have to go the long way around to try to find any damage here onto DeMu's base as the Chinese, and which of course gives him the time he needs to get his economy set up the way he likes.
We see that Scout already took a little bit of a beating as he lost a little bit of HP. I assume he face-checked the Barbican a little bit, but he does have the HP to survive one of those. So the archers are rerouted, but DeMu not looking at any stones, so we won't be seeing any crazy 2TC shenanigans from DeMu. He's just going to be enjoying his wonderful Song Dynasty bonus of getting those villages faster. So DeMu's economy should speak for itself pretty soon, but I don't know if those longbows are going to be able to do the work they need to do. We hear the Barbican shooting at... Oh, that's the TC shooting at the Scout. Scout, you nasty man, why are you so close to me? Get your vision away. Now, the longbows have come around, and they will be able to attack some of these villages.
Yes, villagers getting just pushed off the wood there, forced to steer over towards the right side, but no, DeMu actually instead going on the two straggler trees that he has left here. I guess it makes sense, right? You want to make full use of them, especially when you're being pressured like this. It's always difficult to actually, you know, find the angle on that wood line, which is actually crucial to hit as English with your longbows in pretty much every matchup where you go for this kind of play, because, you know, wood means production buildings, which means units, right? Archers and horsemen are very notable units to help deal with this kind of aggression from English. And, you know, I like this opening from Blid. I mean, there's no barracks yet here for him, but there's no need, right? I mean, there's no production buildings yet dropped by DeMu that we can see. So there's no need to worry about any horsemen, potentially. And, of course, if there's archers on the way, well, the Council Hall, as we know, is, of course, essentially 2 archery ranges in 1. So Blid would definitely have the lead in terms of mass there if he utilizes it well.
But I want you guys to notice how much power that Barbican has. He is now forced to run far around, and that wood line is cutting him off as well. So that's an even longer route that he has to go through. So those longbows, while they are annoying, they are not having the impact we usually see from an English player. He needs to split these bad boys up, and he needs to go from 2 angles. And we see the first horseman is out. So now, again, another ticking time bomb. You have horses that deal really well with longbows.
Yes.
And Blid did add that barracks just now. Thank you, Mr. Observer, for being so on point every damn time. And he's going to be getting those spearmen to join the archer mass. But again, now he's trying to put his army together, and he's not going to be able to harass DeMu as he wanted because of that beautiful placement of the forest, but also the Barbican.
And Blid understands, right? Well spotted on the stable by him, dropping the barracks, as we mentioned, of course, already spears on the way, 1 out already, 2 in the queue. But this is important to do, right? Once those horsemen come out from the Chinese, which, as we know, can be boosted in terms of speed of production by the Imperial official if the stable is supervised. If you're not careful with your army here as English, those horsemen can go forward and start picking off reinforcements, and such losses this early on in a match would be really painful. But good fight here by Blid on the wood line as DeMu just overextends there a little bit in the south side of it. 2 villages go down, 3 actually total by this point. And the Song Dynasty by DeMu's Chinese helps offset that by a little bit, and is in fact actually still in lead by 2 villages at this point in time. But you know, 3 villager losses this early on, it's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, this is very, very well placed by Blid. And again, he's asking himself, where do I go to do damage? And this is what you guys need to ask yourself as well. I need to deny resources. What resources are important to people? Well, wood, most of the time. So making sure that he's in that wood line is so, so important. But we see DeMu has decided, I will be going for a different wood line from here on out. And he has invested in some Jugenu. The unit feared by many, almost all. And the horsemen, they're coming for the fight. They just ignore that little brace, but he does lose a horse
Yeah, with this kind of longbow mass, you know, we saw there's just 3 volleys from the longbows is enough to take down one of those horsemen. Now, the Chuganu choice here by DeMu, I find a little bit perplexing because, as we know, although Chuganu we have seen be extremely terrifying at those close ranges, if I orbit going in by Blid, another villager goes down for him. That's another nice little pick they can get under his belt as the economy lead for DeMu once again stagnates here. But as I was talking, the Zuganu, although extremely oppressive at those close ranges with their repeating crossbow, of course, be able to dish out an extreme amount of damage. Well, the issue is these longbows severely outrange those Zuganus, and this is quite known, really. You know, with effective kiting, those longbows can essentially pick off those Zuganus with so many of them being dead before they even get close. But here we see an engagement happening. Horsemen go in, just feint the charge onto the spearmen. Good pickoffs on the spearmen by DeMu here, but again, this we see a one-shot potential as there's enough longbows to take out the Zuganus in one volley here. Again, challenged by the horsemen. They're all being picked off by the spearmen here, and it's quite a messy fight here back and forth. Both players taking heavy losses here, I must say. Now, the problem here is for Blid that there's no more spears left to actually challenge these horsemen, and many longbows going down here. Although it's looking good for him at the start, those Chuganu dish out so much damage against those spearmen, and with them all dead now, it's looking like Blid will lose his entire army.
And just like that, the weakness of English shows. The moment you lose that longbow mass, your opponent is just going to come for your base right there. And he is able to replenish these pretty quickly, but not to the same amounts. He needs to pull back and he needs to try and avoid losses for as long as possible, because now he does have that farm transition going and he will be able to continually produce more units, but I don't know if he's going to be able to remass what he had before that quickly. But we do see 2 fully stacked farms, quite nice. But I think this is going to cause some idle time when those boys arrive. The thing is, you don't want to fight under an English TC, not when your army is this close to one another.
Yes, the options open up here for DeMu after such a decisive fight in his favor. Of course, killing that many units, essentially the entirety of Blid's forward army, does mean that he can now venture out onto that external food, which he in fact desperately needs, because of course the Chinese also have access to farms like the English, but not at the heavily discounted rate that they do. So they would much rather delay their farm transition, unlike the English, who love having that safe food within reach, of course. But now DeMu feeling comfortable with himself, angling here aggressively against the English. Not something you commonly see in this kind of a matchup, but well, after such a good fight, why wouldn't you keep them under pressure, right?
And I feel like DeMu is just macroing up to castle at the same time. This is something we usually do not do. You don't push your opponent with your whole army and go to castle at the same time. But DeMu is doing that because he's just that far ahead. The thing is, he probably won't commit to this. He will just pretend he's committing to this so that Blid just spends all his resources. And then once DeMu is aged up, he pulls back, gets his upgrades, goes back in and destroys. So I think DeMu is very happy with this. I can expect, he's going right in just to feign that commitment so that Blid realizes, oh, I should fight this. He's going to try, but then it's going to be dangerous.
It's absolutely correct, right? This is where DeMu's experience as a veteran RTS player shines through. Just feinting his commitment with the units, forcing Blid to reinvest, and behind this, all of a sudden, he's Castle Age. 3 knights in queue now for DeMu, Lancers in the Castle Age for Chinese, and you know, we've talked already, the farm transition for English is very nice, very cozy and comfortable, but the reality is those farms are a lot slower than something like deer or sheep initially in the early parts of the game, and we can see Blid has no choice but to be aggressive here, right? Finding himself an age behind, he has to push forward and find some kind of damage here, and gets a couple of volleys on the Zuganu. But the real problem here, Marika, is not only the Lancers that are in queue, but now Palace Guards as well being added by DeMu. Zuganus are being upgraded as we speak. It's just about to finish mere moments away, and DeMu already angling back and forth. He knows, well, with these upgraded veteran Zuganus, the fight is coming.
And unfortunately for him, this might be the last fight. We see the Jugunu being targeted at the back, but the longbows are just not fast enough. And now the Palace Guard just chopping through the front line of those spearmen. And soon enough, they will collapse on top of these longbows. And you see the numbers dwindling from DeMu, but not for long, because again, those are going to be Castle Age units who do not mind taking a little bit of a hit from a longbow. We do see Blid desperately going on gold at this moment. He's like, I need to get to Castle. Maybe I can push him off. But again, tick, tick, tock, Blid. Tick, tick, tock. That Lancer is taking so many hits, and the Palace Guards are chopping right through. The Jugunu doing good work, but these longbows are just not going to be strong enough to kill those Palace Guards.
It's such a painful position to find yourself in here as an English player, right? Being an age behind, suddenly you're forced into a fight against armored units that you don't really have an answer to, except an overwhelming longbow mass, which is dwindling by the second here. And, you know, you're left with two bad choices, essentially. Either you stay in feudal, invest in more units to be able to defend, or, you know, cut units and go for Castle Age. But either way, you'll find yourself taking damage here as DeMu marches straight into the farmland of Blid here with his units, and more armored units on the way. Relics behind this as well for DeMu. First monk already out on the way. Currently only Palace Guards more in queue because he knows, well, you know, spears could deal with the lances, but Palace Guards, well, there's no stopping those.
Now those things can take a punch, and we see Blid is just trying to utilize this TC. He's desperately plopping down that white tower, but at what cost? There's just going to be so many bodies on the floor.
And
I think he realizes this. We see a sigh from Blid, the head rub. He realizes DeMu has bested me. But honestly, I am very impressed with Blid. Again, this is his first tournament that he has actually come to, and he's playing against one of the best players in the world.
Absolutely.
DeMu was not going to be the guy he should be focused on taking down today. I think he should set his eyes on his next opponent, because I think there's a lot of potential in this. And I'm really, really excited to see what we're going to get out of Blid in the future.